But yeah, I'm Nicole Pollard. I am, I would say, an interdisciplinary artist. I really enjoy working with a variety of different art media, although what kind of feels most accessible to me at home is typically drawing and painting and collage. And so that's what I find myself doing most. Um, I currently work at an art organization in Philadelphia called Philadelphia Contemporary as associate curator. And I feel like I'm very much interested in keeping up with the art scene in Philadelphia and beyond. And for that reason, I don't always give myself enough time to continue making at home, and really wanted to use this as an opportunity to make something new. Something is started. So at the end of the presentation, I'm going to show you something that's kind of in process for a behind the scenes look. But otherwise, we're kind of going to take a path through my journey in some ways. So to give you kind of, I guess, a little bit of background of just some of the artists that typically inspire me or kind of motivate me to create from the past to now, are artists such as Peter Max, Egon Schiele, Kehinde Wiley, and Amoako Bafo. You can see that like there's a lot of obviously figurative images here, but also a lot of bright color. Very much interested in this like kind of like very saturated, straight out of the bottle type color. Also interested in kind of in lines that help to create images that like end up feeling a little bit more graphic, but also show hand in some way. If there is some kind of like undulation or kind of like irregularity, I guess I should say, in the line, I really appreciate that, even if like there is a kind of like sharpness that is still communicated, that like it can still be shown that this was like made by hand. So this is just kind of giving you a little bit of where I'm coming from.
What did you say that artist's name was in the bottom right-hand corner? I love those paintings.
Amoako Boafo. It's a Ghanaian artist, and he kind of just recently blew up. It's okay. I can write it in the chat at some point.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Oh yeah, he's awesome. And actually, those lines that you see filling in the skin is actually him finger painting. So it's super cool.
Yeah.
I haven't played around with myself yet, but hopefully at some point. So maybe before, I don't know, I have a lot of slides of paintings, but I kind of just tell my story as I do that, I guess. You don't have to look at the same thing the whole time.
Yeah.
So the first thing is going to be kind of weird. Before I went to college, I was trying to beef up my portfolio. I went to Virginia Commonwealth University and started in the Art Foundation department. They kind of have, a foundation year before you get to choose a major and move forward. And so I was having really crazy dreams at this time, and dreamt of this ostrich that all of a sudden grew wings and was able to fly. But then for some reason had this like skeleton feet. This was also a moment where I like took pride in actually like trying to mimic Bob Ross Mountains and kind of like comically make a nod to that in some way. I'd never painted landscapes, never really found myself drawn to that. But this happened in my preparation for VCU. I submitted, I think, a collection of like drawings, paintings, as well as photography. At that time, I really thought I was going to get into photography. I actually didn't include any photos here, though, I realized. Some other weird things happened, like this elongated cat skeleton with this like flamboyant tail. I think I ended up calling this flamboyance. So I really was like pushing myself to create in ways create subject matter that like really is going to kind of push the boundaries, and things that I kind of like typically did in high school, which was like printing out an American Apparel ad and painting the model or like doing things that were like a little bit more basic or still lives. So I really embraced that opportunity of applying to college to like start exploring who I was as an artist. And I really feel like that was able to happen at VCU. I continually like commend their Art Foundation program. I know my classmates and I all had very different experiences, but for me, it allowed me to explore various art media that I had never even like encountered before. So whether that was like time-based work, doing like stop motion videos, to like sculpting with cardboard, making inflatables. I really feel like it pushed my creativity like to the limit, to the point that when it was time to choose an art major at the end of the year, I didn't know that I could choose just one. So I actually decided to go with art education because I realized that I was able to still kind of take classes in all of the art majors without having to actually choose one. So that ended up being really fun for me. Again, I'm just going to kind of show artworks as I talk about myself. This one is kind of starting to kind of dial back with some of the color, but again, still like some of your straight out of the bottle color. In this case, leaning a little bit more on like line and like geometry. I think I had maybe had the most in-depth drawing classes, more so than I did in high school when I was able to, be at VCU. I took at least, I think, 3 drawing classes. So yeah, exploring all different types of things such as blind contour and, actually drawing from a live model, I feel like really gave me the tools or the foundation that I needed to then kind of stylize drawing in some ways. So here's a kind of another piece from what I would say maybe the same series, where I was exploring this layering of geometric shapes with these faces. Let's see. This is kind of maybe falling more into the self-portrait that you saw on the first slide. I really enjoy kind of putting figures in these like unknown spaces that are, hi Kim.
Hi.
Hey,
Wow. That's beautiful.
Thank you. But yeah, I enjoy putting figures in these geometric spaces that kind of, I don't know, they create some type of tension. I feel like I'm always kind of trying to amplify some sense of like vulnerability. It's like, it doesn't necessarily always feel comfortable. There's always kind of like a sense of, I feel like, awkwardness in the ways that I like to position figures in the work that I do. Like, I had a painting teacher once tell me that like, when things often encounter different edges, of a composition or of a work, and they're not necessarily given a lot of space, that does kind of control our emotional response to a work. And I seem to always like want to lean into that to a certain extent. And I don't exactly know why, but it's definitely something that I've noticed that I've done continuously.
Beautiful.
Thanks. So then I took a little bit of a different turn. I had a period of time where I had graduated at that point from VCU, and I was kind of figuring out where I wanted to go, what I wanted to do. And again, I was kind of tasked with this moment of creating or updating my portfolio. It's kind of, I kind of always need this drive to make things. Unfortunately, that doesn't always come from myself, but like external circumstances, for better or worse. And in this case, it was recognizing that I wanted to go back to school. So I was actually looking into museum programs, recognizing that while I did enjoy sharing art, and definitely enjoyed the art education program, I didn't necessarily want to work in school quite yet, or that didn't seem like the environment that I wanted to work in. Growing up, I never really liked school. So I was like, well, why would I want to work in a school? So I was trying to think about other ways that I could share art with people, and museums came up. And while growing up, I didn't feel like museums were a place for me either. I felt like there was at least some space to, I don't know, kind of shift that environment or shift those spaces, because they came, in all different sizes, small and large. And so I decided to go back to school for museum exhibition planning and design. So I decided to kind of, when creating new pieces for a portfolio to apply to University of the Arts, I decided to explore collage and have it kind of be mashed up with painting. So this is actually a canvas that I built and hand dyed, and just kind of like gessoed just certain areas of it. And then wheat pasted these large kind of, this large photo that I printed out on a whole bunch of 8.5 by 11 sheets of paper. And then it basically put together in this large canvas.
What did you dye the canvas with?
It was like a dark, I think it was like 2 shades of dark gray, like just like RIT dye.
Oh, okay.
I wanted to like see what happened if it just, if the canvas could just be treated that way rather than just like gessoed like I had done.
Yeah, it's different. I want to
Yeah,
try that.
what's the size of this too? Because if those are 8.5 by 11s, this is probably pretty big.
Yeah, this is like, I think it's honestly, it's in my basement right now. It's like 4 by 4, I think. I definitely enjoy working big, I'll say. But I made another one of this series that's a little bit smaller. It's, I think maybe this one's actually 2 by 2. And there's another one that I just wasn't sure if it was going to be appropriate for this, so I didn't include it. But it was a series of 3, so I was able to at least show 3 works that were made in that year, and then kind of have that added on to my previous portfolio. And then these kind of larger symbols are just painted on, I think with oil over top. So I thought I would just throw this in. I wasn't going to. I actually did this like right before this talk started, but I thought I would show a little bit of the work that I did, because I am, I guess, also technically a designer. So this is just some of what I was able to explore in the museum exhibition planning and design program. It really was like an awesome, robust program that allowed me to explore hand rendering and like drawing, like architectural drafting, 3D modeling, as well as like model making, as you see to the right, lighting design, graphic design. I really was able to kind of, I feel like push my skill set even further. And I feel like that's like a through line that I see from both of the programs that I decided to pursue, is I'm not interested in learning just one thing or exploring just one thing. And I feel like even if I'm not necessarily staying as active and like practicing those different skills as I would like, I find my ways to kind of bring them into what I find most accessible in my own studio at home. Oh, didn't like that. Oh, okay. So this is.
Hey, I recognize her.
Yeah. If you haven't noticed, I do tend to do a lot of self-portraits. This one actually needs some touch-ups. I got to do something on the nose there. But this one is a painting from last year. And I decided to, I really wanted to keep these graphic elements that seem to be like a through line in my work, and really keeping that as like a way to put these figures into like spaces unknown, I guess. But I really wanted to push my ways of actually painting the figure itself and play around with doing things that were just like a slightly more realistic, for lack of a better word. And really just deciding to work from photographs. This is like, of course, very much like an iPhone selfie angle that I feel like you can't really get from any other type of camera. So yeah, this is kind of me beginning to play around with that. And I feel like this is like a direction that I'm kind of wanting to take a little bit more forward. What do I have as the next slide?
Nicole, do you work with oils then, or?
Great question. Thank you.
Acrylic ever?
So everything that you kind of see in the beginning was acrylic. I was so heavily reliant on acrylic, and really found that to be, at that point in time, really what I needed to create these kind of this graphic look that I was going for. Because essentially I would paint everything in acrylic. I appreciated that it would dry quickly. I was able to layer on top of it quickly. And then I would go in with like a black paint marker and create those like lines that really separated the shapes and defined the figure in ways that I felt like, in some ways I felt like I needed, like seeing like my painting alone. I didn't feel like it really like popped in the way that I wanted to. And then I did have, oil painting classes like throughout my practice, and did experiment with oil painting at home, but never felt like the kind of working into or layering process in that type of way was ever really lending itself to kind of like how I was envisioning the piece that I wanted to create. And honestly, in the last like 3-4 years, that shifted. So now acrylic, I really appreciate in some cases for being able to help me achieve that strong like graphic background. But now my interest in like how to portray the figure have really changed. And I feel like it's really limiting in terms of like its blending abilities and because of how quickly it dries. And because of my own schedule and like how often I'm actually able to work on things now, being able to work with oil means I can like not use it for, or sorry, not go back to it for like weeks, months, and then still, be able to work back into it by like adding a little bit of, oil or like paint thinner to kind of like, get me in there. So it's really been like lending itself, I think, to like my schedule now. And so what you're seeing here is actually all oil, even the background, which needs to be finished. And I think that's the mode that I'm going to continue in for at least the foreseeable future. Thank you so much for asking that, though. I know I'm missing things, so please feel free to continue to ask. And then I wanted to also share that I've also been getting back into collage. Please excuse the quality of this photo. I will show you how badly my iPhone is right now. I have not been taking any photos, unfortunately, because it's totally cracked. But I've been really finding that, just some quick collage works like this are really kind of helping me flex my interest in creating like these more dynamic hitting the edge compositions that I was referring to before. And I really want to explore it more. It seems like I might have an opportunity to kind of collaborate with a friend soon to help them make some works for like album and single art. So I'm really excited to get into that because again, I love a purpose. I love a reason to make something. And usually it has to do with like drive or need from someone else. And I wish it didn't work that way, but it's the way it does. So definitely excited to get more into collage and maybe even use that as a starting point for developing paintings too. That's also been sometimes how I've kind of like sketched things out. And this is a painting that I finished in the beginning of this year. This is funny because this work kind of took, or this panel, I guess, has been used in many different ways before it became this painting. So it's actually in that exhibition program that I did, we had to kind of create like mini exhibits based on a word. And so I created a little kind of interactive exhibit called, or that was off of the word analog. And so I had drilled all these holes in this panel that I had built just like a canvas or like a panel board that I would typically to paint on. But it was like for these rope lights to move around these kind of like pulleys. So it kind of was giving this like analog kind of like channel or a shape, I guess, in some way. And so then I had this board that again was perfectly shaped for a painting that I wanted to make a painting out of, but was like kind of stuck with the fact that it had holes in it now. So I actually painted the acrylic targets on it first. Again, like a motif similar to like the kind of like sunburst that is definitely like a through line throughout a lot of my work. So I just kind of went with that first, not really knowing where it would go. And it stayed with some targets on it for a while. And then I came up with, I had actually taken this picture and I knew that I really wanted to, fit it on a canvas that was going to keep it kind of tight like this. And so I decided to draw the figure onto the panel and just gesso that exact area. So I would have to like limit the painting, the oil painting, just to that specific area. And I really appreciated that challenge, actually. And I really am excited about the way that this turned out. And this one's similar to oh wow, it's really going slow, to the self-portrait. Like these were my first times in a while really exploring like underpainting, and specifically with like purples and oranges, and then layering, more like skin tone on top. So I'm really excited about how this turned out. Definitely want to make some more works like this that can appreciate like I think it's just like Luan panel board behind it, as well as mixing both my appreciation for acrylic and oil.
It's beautiful. I love that you put the figure over top of some of the targets and then left some of the targets over top of him. It's layered really nicely.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, I love the skin tone in that too. Like it's just beautiful.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Yeah, I definitely want to play around more with that. I feel like I haven't given myself the room to play with this way of like treating skin quite yet, and so I'm excited to push that forward. So on to the last slide. Drum roll. So this is the work that I'm kind of that's in process now. It's just kind of chilling next to me. This is actually, I kind of feel like actually I should show you how big this is. It's kind of hard with a PowerPoint. You don't get an idea of scale.
Mhm.
But
Oh, wow. That's big.
Yeah, it's big. That's a big one.
so this is obviously another self-portrait now with me with a lot shorter hair. And I'm playing around with, again, this kind of different way of underpainting. You can see the influence of kind of how I'm treating the hair, like Aduako Abofo. And I don't know, I've kind of really appreciated this way of underpainting. And it's like hard for me to like find, I don't even know, like the courage to paint over it at this point in time. I'm like loving this like contrast of the orange and the blue.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do things like this and then I have to let it sit forever because I'm like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So that's the process that you use to paint the last two as well, is that you painted these really vibrant colors underneath?
yeah, yes and no. It wasn't these colors in particular. It was more the purple that you see of the hair. It was more of like I would say like purple and orange versus like the blue, like different shades of blue and then like this like red orange. I haven't necessarily gone there yet. But I'm really interested in like using these kind of warm and cool colors to like maybe create more contrast even when I do paint over top of it. But I'm still kind of experimenting with how I can do that without like losing the vibrancy, and having it, maybe become like kind of more, I don't know the word that I want, but like looking more like those two other paintings, which I feel like kind of just communicate as more like how our eyes would normally see skin tone versus I want this to like really have a more intense contrast to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if you could like have some of the vibrant colors like peek through or something, or leave like the lips or something like that. I don't know. You're gonna have to send me a picture of the finished product. I'm curious now.
Oh, no,
Do you have a studio in your house?
Yes, it's not even like organized at all yet, but yeah, for folks joining, I just moved. It's really exciting, except everything is still very much in boxes and in flux. So I'm actually currently in what will be, or what is my studio. I just kind of need to get it, feeling like me in here. But
Yeah, that's exciting.
yeah. So I guess I could stop sharing if any folks have like any other questions. I'll also make sure to drop those artist names in the chat.
Yeah, with your most recent self-portrait, I definitely see kind of like you're kind of like expanding, I guess, with composition and kind of the style of drawing that you're doing. Is this something that you see that you're pursuing like actively, or did it just kind of happen organically while you were painting, or how that process kind of come about with this new one?
I don't know. I feel like I've been inspired by more, I guess, new artists that I've encountered and shows that I was able to attend, I guess, like the year before 2020. And definitely I'm like trying to get out again now, but I don't know. I really am trying to hold space and time for thinking of myself as an artist and actually practicing. I think there was like a time period there where I was trying to figure out what was paying me, and then that really distracted me from what I really like to do. And I think that is painting. I think for a while, actually, painting has frustrated me because I understood it as a way to make drawings in color, but it like the technique itself wasn't as comfortable to me at that point. And I think maybe I've just kind of like, I feel like maybe I'm getting over that threshold, and that it's definitely still something I need to practice. And it's definitely still something that like, you like get all like tight when you're doing, and you're like focusing really hard, and then you feel the reward after it's done, which like is always going to make it feel like work. But yeah, work that I'm recognizing more and more I really enjoy and need to keep present in my life. So yeah, I think I hope I'm answering your question. That's part of the fuel, making me kind of want to make more things more recently after kind of like a lull. But yeah, I don't know. I like the brightness.
Yeah, it's like you're back.
Yeah.
Yeah, it happens. There's lulls sometimes, but you know, it seems like you're back to it, and you're motivated, and definitely the new studio helps.
Yes.
That'll help motivate you. Yeah. I like having the studio in the house. I feel like it's some people don't like it, but I feel like it makes it easier to work. You can kind of just like go whenever you have a minute.
Totally. And I need to make that more of like, it's okay to just do like, 2 marks and keep it moving.
Yeah. Go
like,
in there for 20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's fine.
I think the problem is traditionally I've thought about it as like something I need to set a lot of time to. Like I typically work in ways where like I'll be painting all day long and just like going down to the kitchen to like grab a snack with like some sugar or carbs to keep me going, and like to the bathroom, and that's it. Like it's more of like this like really intense, almost like torturous way of working, but not really, because I'm just in it and I can't do anything else to take me out of the zone. And I want to appreciate that way of working, but I also want to recognize that there are other ways to keep things moving. Yeah.
Well, does anyone have any more questions for Nicole before we go? Nicole, thank you. Yes, thank you so much for sharing. It was so great to see you and to see your process and your paintings. Your paintings are beautiful, and I can't wait to see what you make next.
Me too.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I want to see more too.
Yes. Friday, like, so good to see you. Let's catch up.
Yeah, good. We'll have to catch up. Good seeing you.
I'm good to see you too, Alice. Thank you for coming.
Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you, Nicole.
Thanks.